The World Tomorrow. The Worldwide Church of God presents Herbert W. Armstrong, internationally recognized ambassador for world peace, visiting prominent leaders around the globe, discussing the cause of world problems, and proclaiming the good news of the world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Herbert W. Armstrong.
For years, this program has been introduced as the Worldwide Church of God Presents, and then follows the program. But just who and what is the Worldwide Church of God? I'd like to devote a little time on this particular program to tell you just what is the Worldwide Church of God. Jesus Christ said, as you find recorded in Matthew 16 and verse 18, "I will build my church, and the gates of the grave shall not prevail against it. It would never die out." Now, he said church. He did not say, "I will build many churches, denominations, sects, and many different groups calling themselves Christian." He said, "I will build my church." Now, that church was founded in the year of 31 AD. But within 2 years, persecution set in and a false church began to rise up in the year of 33 AD, calling itself Christian, using the name of Christ, calling itself Christian. By the year of 53 AD, the Apostle Paul wrote to the churches up in Galatia, as you find in the first chapter of the book of Galatians, beginning with verse 6, "I marvel that you are so soon turned from him that called you into the grace of Christ unto another gospel." They had turned from the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, the gospel he preached, gospel means good news. He was a newscaster. He brought a message, and that message was news. It was news of the future. It was news of the kingdom of God. You read in the first chapter of Mark the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ and how he came into Galilee preaching the gospel of the kingdom of God. That was the gospel that he preached. But soon men began preaching a gospel about Christ and not the gospel of Christ. The gospel of Christ was a message about the kingdom of God. So Paul said, "Which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Jesus Christ." Now, there are many prophecies in the New Testament showing that false apostles, false teachers rose up, that they changed the original gospel altogether. The last two books in the New Testament, Jude and the book of Revelation, written in about 90 AD, many, many years later, the last books written in the Bible, showed that, as Jude said, they should contend for the faith once delivered, because the churches had begun to turn away from the true message that Jesus brought. John showed how many had come, many false prophets had come, and that if they said, "I know him," but they didn't keep God's commandments, they were liars, and the truth was not in him. So later on, the false church spread into hundreds of different denominations, sects, and groups, all calling themselves Christian and sort of going under the general name of traditional Christianity. But the true church did survive. These other churches were of the world. They grew big. The true church of God was persecuted. Jesus had called it the little flock. But it endured. And in the second and the third chapters of Revelation, Jesus Christ himself foretold 7 different successive epochs, periods of time, or eras in which the true church would exist and what would happen to it as a persecuted church, small in number, but the true church did survive. Now, today, that church still exists, and it has spread the gospel with all of the modern means of technological advancement. And today, Our television department has recently prepared a very brief film to show in other countries describing the church and some of its activities of today. Today, it is worldwide. The gospel is going worldwide, all over the world, to multiple millions and millions of people. Well, here is just a little of that special film.
In today's tumultuous world, no message is more important than human survival. That is the message that the Worldwide Church of God has been proclaiming for over 50 years. It is a message of peace, the ultimate deliverance of mankind from impending nuclear annihilation. Herbert W. Armstrong, now in his early 90s, is Pastor General of the Worldwide Church of God, Editor-in-Chief of the Plain Truth magazine, and founder and chairman of the Ambassador Foundation. The World Tomorrow with Herbert W. Armstrong is a unique program dealing with the relevance of God's Word in today's turbulent society. With the use of modern technology, he delivers a message of hope on over 270 radio stations and 250 television stations worldwide, including major market areas in Canada, Australia, the Philippines, and the Caribbean islands. In January 1982, the World Tomorrow began using satellite syndication in the United States as a means of distributing the telecast to various stations. At present, 61 stations receive the broadcast from Wold Satellite Television Network via the Telstar 301 satellite and record the program to be aired at the scheduled time. In addition to the regular English broadcast, the World Tomorrow is subtitled in 2 languages. French, aired on RTL, located in Luxembourg, and TMC in Monte Carlo, and most recently, Italian, broadcast on TMC Milan, which is cabled throughout northern Italy, including Rome. All literature offered on the program is given free of charge without follow-up or request for contributions.
There's no subscription price to the Plain Truth. You wonder, how can we publish a magazine like that? And we don't ask the public for money. We don't beg for money on here. You've never heard me ask for money. What we offer free. There are enough people that believe in what we're doing, that pay for it and finance it, and we don't have to beg for money over the air like you hear on almost every other program of this type on the air.
More than 20 million people in over 200 countries and territories now read the Church's primary publication, The Plain Truth, a magazine of understanding. What is The Plain Truth magazine? It's history. It's news. It's prophecy. What is The Plain Truth? It's questions. It's answers. It's a magazine of understanding. It's a full-color monthly magazine that explains the real meaning of today's world conditions and shows where they are headed and why. The Plain Truth now has a circulation of over 7 million. The magazine is printed in 7 languages and ranks 17th in total circulation among the world's leading mass circulation publications. Over 2.5 million people receive their Plain Truth through 23,000 quality newsstand outlets throughout the United States, Canada, and Europe. The Plain Truth is also distributed by lighted displays located in major airports and railroad stations. The Plain Truth Supermarket program has the potential of reaching 65 million people per week through 4,000 stores. 20,000 public libraries and 150,000 waiting rooms also display the Plain Truth. The Plain Truth has no subscription price and carries no commercial advertising. Magazine subscriptions are offered free to the public with no obligation, no follow-up whatsoever, and no appeal to the general public for contributions. As in the World Tomorrow program, no effort is made in the Plain Truth to persuade the public to join the Worldwide Church of God. Readers may cancel their subscription anytime or renew later, also free. Subscriber lists remain confidential and are not rented to other organizations for promotional mailings. Millions of people have felt the positive impact on their lives from Plain Truth articles on world affairs, social issues, and family life. As one subscriber writes, "The Plain Truth is the most uplifting, encouraging magazine I have ever seen. The articles are most inspiring yet sobering as they show the world we live in with precise detail, and also the wonderful world tomorrow. Thank you very much for the work you are doing." In addition to publishing the Plain Truth magazine, the Worldwide Church of God also publishes a full-color monthly publication entitled The Good News of the World Tomorrow. The Good News is offered to people who desire a greater insight into the teachings of the Scriptures. A bi-weekly newspaper entitled The Worldwide News is also distributed to members of the Worldwide Church of God. Also, the full-color magazine Youth 84 addresses the problems as well as the interests of today's youth. The Plain Truth magazine is not only promoted through the World Tomorrow radio and television programs, but also full-page advertising is purchased in many of the world's leading mass circulation publications. Advertisements promoting the Plain Truth have appeared in many of the international editions of Reader's Digest, Time magazine in the United States and Canada, Wall Street Journal, Maclean's, London Sunday Times, Der Spiegel, and numerous other publications of distinction that reflect the quality of editorial content and character that has become a trademark of the Plain Truth magazine for 50 years. The advertising agency of BBDO International, Batten, Barton, Durston, and Osborne Incorporated, with its overseas offices, represents the Worldwide Church of God in purchasing media time and advertising space. BBDO's international network of agencies with over 100 offices in 36 countries and 72 cities is one of the largest in the world. The advertising agency interfaces with the Worldwide Church of God's 10 overseas offices. These offices serve members in 120 countries and territories. International members represent at least 20 languages. As Pastor General of the Worldwide Church of God and founder and chairman of Ambassador Foundation, Mr. Armstrong has met with numerous heads of state, including the late President Anwar el-Sadat of Egypt, as well as Egypt's current president, Hosni Mubarak, President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines, Prime Minister Menachem Begin of Israel, King Hussein of Jordan, and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher of Great Britain. He has also met with every Prime Minister of Japan since 1971, including Yasuhiro Nakasone. Internationally recognized for his humanitarian efforts on behalf of world peace, Herbert Armstrong has been called a builder of bridges between peoples everywhere. In recognition of his contributions to world peace, Mr. Armstrong has received numerous decorations, awards, and honorary doctorates. For example, he was honored by Emperor Hirohito with Japan's Order of the Sacred Treasure, the most prestigious award that can be bestowed upon a non-Japanese private citizen. In January 1984, Mr. Armstrong was decorated by Their Majesties King Bhumibol and Queen Sirikit of Thailand with an award equivalent to knighthood in recognition of his years of service to the Thai nation. Several years ago, Herbert Armstrong was highly honored by his longtime friend, the late King Leopold III of Belgium. After the armistice of World War I, the war that was to end all wars, King Leopold's father, King Albert, picked up a cannonball from a battlefield that had been the site of several wars through the centuries. From that iron cannonball, he commissioned 4 watch cases to be made, each completed with a fine jeweled movement. These watches were to be given to the 4 men whom he felt had contributed most to the cause of world peace. The first watch was given to Field Marshal Foch, Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Allied armies in World War I. The second watch was presented to General Pershing, Commander-in-Chief of the United States forces in Europe. And the third to George Clemenceau, Premier of France. Finding no one else he felt was qualified to receive the 4th watch, King Albert passed it on to his son. King Leopold presented that final watch to Herbert W. Armstrong. According to Mr. Armstrong, I feel it was the very highest honor the king could have paid anyone. Whatever contribution to world peace I may be making is not through war, but through education, teaching millions worldwide the way to peace. In his meetings with heads of state around the world, Herbert Armstrong explains the way of the Creator is the way of give, of outgoing concern for others, rather than this world's way of get. In addition, he addresses groups of distinguished businessmen and civic leaders. He has spoken before numerous Rotary clubs around the world, boldly proclaiming the good news of a coming peaceful and prosperous world tomorrow. The philanthropic arm of the Worldwide Church of God is represented by the Ambassador Foundation. Foundation projects are natural extensions of Mr. Armstrong's overseas visits with leaders of nations. These projects embrace a wide variety of cultural, educational, and humanitarian activities around the world. For example, in conjunction with Hebrew University, students from Ambassador College work during the summer months excavating various archaeological sites in Jerusalem. Through his mutual friendships with Japan and Israel, Herbert Armstrong has been able to assist Prince Mikasa in building the collection of artifacts at the Middle Eastern Culture Center in Tokyo. As a result of Mr. Armstrong's efforts, Dr. Joseph Aviram, director of the Institute of Archaeology at Hebrew University, presented several fine examples of ancient Israelite pottery. This museum, the only one of its kind in Japan, was founded by Prince Mikasa to enhance the Japanese people's knowledge and appreciation of Middle Eastern cultures. The foundation also helped support a special school in Amman, Jordan. The Bunyat Special Education Center, a personal project of Princess Sarvath of Jordan, provides vocational training for mentally handicapped children. On a recent trip to Amman, Mr. Armstrong was accompanied by the princess on a tour of the center's facilities. Projects around the world supported by the Ambassador Foundation provide students from Ambassador College the rare opportunity to serve others as well as develop new and enriching experiences. For example, through ACCEPT, A-C-E-P-T, the Ambassador College Educational Project in Thailand, specially trained students participated in a joint project with Wat Thai Temple of Los Angeles. The students were sent to northern Thailand to help and prepare Indo-Chinese refugees for their new lives once resettled in the Western world. The Foundation's cultural centerpiece is Ambassador Auditorium in Pasadena, California. The auditorium is regarded as one of the world's most beautiful and acoustically perfect performing arts centers. Many of the world's finest performers have graced the auditorium stage. Carlo Maria Giulini and the Vienna Symphony, Vladimir Horowitz, Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra, Luciano Pavarotti, the late Arthur Rubinstein, Renata Scotto, Beverly Sills, Joan Sutherland, Herbert von Karajan, and the Berlin Philharmonic. The Ambassador Auditorium is located on the award-winning campus of Ambassador College in Pasadena, California. 3 times, Ambassador has been recognized as America's most beautiful college campus. The college maintains 2 campuses, a 4-year institution in Pasadena, California, and a 2-year junior college in Big Sandy, Texas. The college places primary emphasis on education of the whole individual and not of the intellect alone. Ambassador College is a unique educational character-building institution. It teaches not only how to earn a living, but how to live. Ambassador students are taught the missing dimension in education, the underlying purpose and the real meaning of life, the worthwhile values, the basic laws of success. They are given individual attention in the development of character, culture, and personality. Undergraduate students come from a great variety of national, racial, ethnic, and religious backgrounds. The international student body encompasses diverse cultural heritages, representing over 20 nations, and provides a distinctive cosmopolitan flavor. The college is largely supported by the membership of the Worldwide Church of God, and has been empowered by the states of California and Texas to confer degrees. Major funding for the Plain Truth magazine, World Tomorrow broadcast, and Ambassador College is provided by the membership of the Worldwide Church of God. A specially designated fund contributed by the church members is used to help support the needy, widows, and orphans of the church, in keeping with the biblical principle of give. The independent auditing firm Arthur Anderson and Company annually audits the financial statements of the church, college, and foundation to provide an unbiased certification of financial integrity. The Worldwide Church of God has always been non-proselytizing and non-competitive. As a matter of principle, the church does not appeal for converts, solicit contributions from the public, offer anything for sale to the public, agitate movement to bring about any objectives, political or otherwise. The Worldwide Church of God practices Christianity as a way of life. The Creator's way of life demands an outgoing concern for the welfare of others equal to one's own self-concern. Herbert W. Armstrong believes in the principle of give, as opposed to the all too often practiced way of selfish get. Along with the members of the Worldwide Church of God, he is committed to sharing a message of hope with all of mankind. For this reason, the church is dedicated to an international effort to ultimately reach all peoples worldwide.
Now today, there are hundreds, as I said earlier, hundreds of sects and denominations, all calling themselves Christians, all calling themselves Christian or traditional Christianity. But where is the one true church that Jesus Christ himself founded? Now, I have prepared a very special booklet. It's only been offered, I believe, once before on this program. Where is the true church today? Where is the true church? I'd like to have you have a copy. I'd like to have you know some of the history of what happened from the time Jesus Christ started this church in 31 AD, what happened in that first century, in the second century, what has happened since, and what has happened today, and where is that one true church today after all these years of persecution and trial and everything that has gone on. Now, there's no cost, of course. We never ask for money over the air. There'll be no follow-up. And at the same time, I would like to send you a year's subscription to the world's finest magazine. It's one of the largest circulation magazines in the world, larger than any of the weekly news magazines published in the United States, larger than most of the popular magazines that you see on newsstands and that most people get, called The Plain Truth, the finest magazine published in the world today. It's published in 7 different languages. It's in full color. In the front cover of this particular issue, new volcanic activity. Why? Here is an editorial by me. Why should God permit or allow human suffering? Here's another article, Coming, the Emancipation of Europe. That is an article on what is going on in Europe today. Here's another article, Education for International Understanding. Here's another article, Coping with the Taxman. We all have to cope with the taxman these days, and I think you would like to read that. Here's one continuing on the history of Europe, the Third Reich. Here's another article, The Coming Messiah and Prophecy. Prophecy said there would be a Messiah coming. You need to know those prophecies and how soon it will be. Now here is the leading article, like it was on the front page. Here's another article, A New Look at a Divided City. And then an exclusive interview, Terrorism in the 1980s. And finally, Terrorism, the Worst is Yet to Come. The Plain Truth analyzes today's world news and gives you the real meaning and what it means and where it's leading and what is going to happen tomorrow, next year, and in the next 10 years or so. Now, for your copy of this very special booklet, Where is that one true church that Jesus founded? Where is it today? Write in for this booklet, and we'll send you a year's subscription to The Plain Truth. There is no subscription price. It contains no advertising. You don't have enough money to buy a subscription. We don't ask you for money. We don't beg for money over the air. I hope you've noticed that. All you do, you just send your request with your name and address to me, Herbert W. Armstrong, Pasadena, California. Herbert W. Armstrong, Pasadena, California, 91123. Or immediately just go to the telephone right now and call this toll-free number. You first dial 1, then 800-423-4444. Now that is 800-423-4444. So until next time, this is Herbert W. Armstrong. Goodbye, friends.
For the free literature offered on this program, write Herbert W. Armstrong, Pasadena, California, 91123. In Canada, Box 44, Vancouver, BC. Or in the continental United States, including California, you may call this toll-free number, 1-800-423-4444. In Alaska and Hawaii only, call collect 1-818-304-6111. If the lines are busy, please try again. The preceding program and all literature were produced and sponsored by the Worldwide Church of God.